Do you wish to change it? Huh? The future.
Whenever we have a remixing or a retelling, a definitive edition, or a Snyder or Teller cutting of a film, Mercury will be encoded. Mercury is also encoded in films where there are time travel or a changing or correcting of the timeline to fix things. So anytime you have a story that's a side story or a bonus story or extra story compared to the main canon, you're probably going to see a character who points to Mercury. As said in the previous video, characters who are encoding Mercury may be speedsters with a Quicksilver-like appearance. They also may be polymorphs or metamorphs. And then there also may be cues around them that are obvious points to Mercury, like a Mercury vehicle right next to them, or them driving in a Mercury vehicle, and so forth. Then there's also characters that have mercurial changes that occur after coming in contact with Mercury, and or the character itself that's playing Mercury may have a big change. An interesting example of this is Steppenwolf in the Justice League movie. Steppenwolf is a character who is playing Sirius the Dog Star. This is why he's the portal opener, or the first character in the series to come to our world through a portal. And every time you see him transfer, he transfers through a portal, and his name has a dog encoded in it. And in this film, he was remade into a different version, a more metallic and polymorph-like version. And that's because this film is a redoing or a rechanging of the canon. So it's a Mercury event happening to the actual film, but also in the film, there is Mercury encoded in the Flash and Cyborg character and the previous series or the previous storyline that was already going on. And we see this kind of change that happens to Steppenwolf and other characters in other series. Just take a look at some of these pictures here and just think about how they change or how these characters change in these different films, and how each different film is almost a different canon. And then you can understand why there's a mercurial change going on in these characters. Another standout characteristic that characters who are playing Mercury or characters who encode Mercury may have is unique color hair. Their hair might start off one color and then it could become gray, silver, or white, or they might be a character who just starts off with gray, silver, or white hair. And these characters are often characters who went through a great strain or great metamorphosis, and their name might even encode it, like a Murphy. But it also could be a character who may not have went through a great metamorphosis themselves, but it may be somebody who can do alchemy or magic to cause metamorphosis. You see a lot of the old traditional wizards having an appearance of Mercury. This is where we get the idea of like Merlin. We also see this graying of hair in characters who are not just actual magic users or wizards, but also in like the tech wizards or the mad scientist type characters in these different stories. And this idea also comes from when adults become elders and they become wiser. There's a mercurial change and then they start to get gray hairs. This idea of the graying of a characteristic of a person is important, and it's encoded in a lot of different names of characters or in a lot of big stories. For instance, if you wanted to persuade a generation of religious people to become more promiscuous, you would put a character out called Christian Grey. Or if you're looking forward to the mutation or the evolution of a human's physiology, you would encode a character called Jeans or Jean Grey. Another important concept to reinforce is the idea of Sirius the Dog Star. As mentioned before, Sirius the Dog Star, encoded in characters, usually will be a portal jumper or portal opener. But when encoded with Mercury, it's going to have to do with correcting something by jumping through a portal, or fixing time, or going to another timeline. So when you have a film that encodes a big mercurial change, you should also be looking for Sirius the Dog Star.
From the French, of course. Resume, I believe, passed from the French, of course. Resume, I believe.
This type of pairing of these type of characters is very subtle in different stories and films, but once you know what to look for, you'll be able to start to see a deeper level of storytelling. Now do you understand why Ultron surrounded himself with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, or alchemy? And the same kind of idea even goes on in the Flash TV show, where you have a character named Savitar, who's a play on the polymorph Mercury Quicksilver idea, and he is also associated with alchemy, or a character named Alchemy in that show.
Hello, Sarah Connor.
Pops. I thought you were dead.
No, just upgraded.